There are some massive things happening behind the scenes of pro pickleball that you probably didn't know about, and they're almost certainly going to lead to some players that are currently household pickleball names fading into obscurity by the end of 2026. So, right now, players are renegotiating their contracts with the leagues, and these signed graphics, they're giving me flashbacks to the pickleball tour wars of 2023. As of right now, we have some pretty big names that have signed their extensions and some even bigger names that still haven't. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in 2023, PPA and MLP were set to merge, but MLP launched a nuke and started signing players to multi-year deals. The PPA responded by signing their own players, and chaos ensued. Players were sitting around hitting refresh on Instagram to see who was going to be announced next. Once the dust settled, the two organizations ended up merging once again and founding the UPA that we now know. But that was 2023, and what is going on now? Are we in the middle of another tour wars type of situation? Well, the UPA is starting to renegotiate some of the inflated contracts and transition from fully guaranteed contracts over to incentive-based prize money contracts. Some players have signed these extensions and some haven't. I made a video a couple of weeks ago and I'll link that in the description or my Instagram story. This is the SparkNotes summary of that. Take your guaranteed contract amount for 2026, say it's 150,000, spread that over the next 3 years, and your minimum guarantee for 26, 27, and 28 is $50,000 per year with access to vastly increased prize money amounts for PPA and MLP, including $1 million prize for winning the MLP finals. Yes, each player could individually take home $250,000 if they sign this extension. The UPA has given Tour Wars signees, the people who signed an MLP or PPA deal during 2023, until August 15th to make a decision. Sign before then, get access to the gold prize winning grid where winners can take home $45K for winning a slam. Sign by September 23rd to have access to the standard grid, which pales in comparison to the gold grid. And winning the same tournament gets each player just $12,000, which is less than a third of the prize money available. But if you don't sign this, you're stuck with a futures prize money grid, which is about half of the standard. For winning the same tournament, you'd earn about $6K. If this sounds aggressive, it's because it kind of is. And you don't sign anything at all, players will stay on their current contract, which are set to run through 2026. This has been going on behind the scenes for months, so players have had time to consult with their legal teams and work with the league, but the deadline is coming up, and it's reasonable for the UPA to want an answer sooner rather than later so they can plan for 2026. With 1 week until the deadline, Jimmy Miller reported on X, formerly known as Twitter, that several players have signed extensions, including Tyra Black and Federico Stockstrud, who signed 4-year deals, Catherine signed a 5-year deal, Tyson signed a 2-year deal, Jack and Jeannie both extended as well as several other players, but there are still a lot of very important names missing. And from what I understand, a certain threshold of players need to sign this extension in order to transition from guaranteed money to prize money. The UPA has to avoid the following situation: players with huge Tour Wars contracts staying on their guaranteed amounts, while players with small Tour Wars contracts transition to the huge prize money. This is complicated, so I'll take you through a quick example. Let's say John Benz signed for $1 million during Tour Wars and Banana Wright signed for $0. If John Benz refuses to sign the extension but Banana Wright does, the UPA could owe John $1 million and Banana a ton of potential prize money, which would increase the exposure of the league instead of decreasing it. It's unknown how many players need to sign the extensions in order to transition to prize money, but right now we have a ton of notable names that haven't been announced yet, including Annalie Waters, Ben Johns, Anna Bright, the Johnsons, and more. Now, I fully expect almost all of the top-ranked pros to sign these extensions, and I signed mine a little while ago, even though I'm not a top-ranked pro. It'll also be very interesting to see what happens to WPPA players. If you recall, the WPPA stands for World Pickleball Players Association. It's led by Tina Pisnik, Colin Johns, Deckel Barr, Jesse Irvin, Jay DeVilliers, and Gabe Tardio. It's unknown how many other players have joined the WPPA, and it's unknown what joining the WPPA actually means, but my guess is that these players would be the ones most likely to hold out on their negotiations with the UPA, if anybody does decide to do so. Interestingly, the UPA also just announced 2 new players, Chris Haworth and Arman Bhatia. Chris Haworth is the #1 ranked singles player on the APP Tour, and Arman is the top Indian player and has won a couple of APP events as well. I think that the UPA is going to get this done, but it's going to be really interesting to see who signs in time and who walks away from pro pickleball. Make sure to subscribe because I'll definitely give an update after the August 15th deadline of exactly who signed and who isn't.